Well, there are several high-profile court cases happening right now.
Oh, yeah. One of them, the Sean Combs sex trafficking trial, where yesterday a star witness took the stand. You know who that is. And then the Menendez brothers. There's new information while you were sleeping from overnight. Could they be out of prison after 35 years as early as maybe this week? Look who's here. Look who's back. Attorney Shaka Johnson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I
Good to see
don't
you
know on morning television where do we start with this Sean Combs trial, the testimony over the last 48 hours?
This is after dark conversation.
It certainly
Yes, it is.
But a lot of this, you know, maybe avant-garde sexual activity that they were involved with, those aren't crimes.
That is what the defense is. They are crimes. Well, if you bring a prostitute from another state and they cross state lines for the purpose of promoting, that is a crime in and of itself. That is correct. That is a crime. But now you have to prove that that person was actually a sex worker. It's not a foregone conclusion, or nor should it be assumed that the person who came in to participate in these threesomes and foursomes was in fact a sex worker. And so the defense is going to be challenging every element of every count. They cannot concede that person was a sex worker. But a lot of their defense sort of mirrors what the prosecution is already alleging. They're just saying that this is these were consensual acts by participants in these freak-offs.
Even though she maybe didn't want to do what he was asking her to do.
And not maybe, she said there were many instances where she did not want to.
She did say that in 2025, but I did note that the testimony indicates that she never stated, articulated, verbalized she didn't want to do these things.
But she says on the stand that she didn't feel like she had much of a choice. She says, it got to a point where I just didn't feel like I had much of a choice, didn't really know what no could be or what no could turn into.
She's 22. Right.
Sean controlled a lot of my life, whether it was my career, the way I dress, like everything. And I just didn't feel like I had much say in it at the time, being really super young, naive, and a total people pleaser. I didn't know if he would be upset enough to be violent or if he would write me off and just not want to be with me at all.
Okay.
Very damaging testimony.
It is, but here's the thing. If he'd said to her, you do this, you have sex with these other guys and peeing on her and all this other stuff, and if you don't do it, I'm going to release a videotape because I've been videotaping all this stuff.
Yes.
That's extortion, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But
then that's a crime.
But that's not what I've heard so far with respect to the testimony. That's not what she's saying. She's saying that I've had videos on my phone, he had videos on his phone, and my fear was that if I didn't comply, he might release these, he might sort of put
that's different.
That's very different.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't explicitly said? Or why is it different?
Well, because they weren't in a relationship, right? And so I found it very interesting that the prosecutor laid out from the very beginning, as you indicated a moment ago, Mike, she was 21 when they started this relationship. So there's a very significant age gap. There's obviously a power differential because he was not only in control of her in terms of relationship, but over her career. She signed to a 10-album deal. She only put out one album, okay, of a 10-album deal. And then she felt like she was caught between this quandary of a personal relationship with Mr. Combs as well as a professional one. So I have to please him because I want to please my man, but also my career is hanging in the balance behind these weekly freak-offs.
Yeah, some of the freak-offs lasted for days.
For needing IVs and other sorts of medicine to bring people back to sort of, reality. Very, very disturbing testimony. But this is why the voir dire process is so important. You have to prep potential jurors to hear this kind of testimony so that you don't get gas and mouth drops during the testimony.
And this thing's supposed to go on for 2 more months, so we'll have you back many times.
And also the defense hasn't cross-examined her yet, right?
Correct. This
so
has been 2 days of Cassie on direct. That's correct.
Just real quickly here, what happened overnight in the Menendez thing?
Wow. Okay, so California is an anomaly, right? Because other states don't have what I'm getting ready to explain to you. Legislation has been introduced to where there are resentencing hearings given if you meet a criteria. I know we don't have time to go through the whole criteria, but if you meet certain criteria, resentencing hearings are almost mandated by the legislature. One of those things is full transparency and full acceptance of responsibility, right? That means telling exactly what you did in every particular facet of a crime. And the second is rehabilitation. Now the second part is very important because the Menendez brothers, both Eric and Lyle, received life without the possibility of parole. So people who have been in prison with no prospect of getting out and who have decided to rehabilitate themselves, letters were given to the court from corrections officers, personnel from the jail. These gentlemen were maybe not here recently with some of the infractions they incurred, but were by and large model inmates and were helping other people with no prospect of ever seeing the free world again.
So if you're resentencing, that means you could get out.
Well, they've been resentenced to 50 years to life, which in California, that's yes, they're eligible for parole as of this conversation.
Because they've already done 35
They
years.
are eligible for parole at the time of this conversation, correct?
I'll be darned. What do you think?
I think they're going to see the parole board. It doesn't matter whether the parole board recommends release or not. It's going to go to the governor, and I do believe they're going to be released.
I agree with you completely. We're going to release you.
Thank you. I'm being paroled from Fox.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you as well.
We'll have you back because the Diddy trial, 2 more months. Sure. Come on back.